Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of I Saw This Thing, a Biteable podcast. Last week, we talked about if AI could replace copywriters. And we're coming down on the side of history that no,
Uh-uh,
it cannot.
not this copywriter.
And then earlier this week, I saw an article on Marketing Dive which told the story of how Coca Cola spent a better part of this year experimenting with AI to create images that they're going to use in global, digital, and print marketing campaigns. You can see it today. I think it's at createrealmagic.com. We'll put the link in the show notes. But naturally, that led us to this conversation and this question about, well, like if we talked about could it replace copywriters, and if Coca-Cola is doing this, do we think AI can replace graphic designers? And so to help us with that conversation, we're joined today by our colleague Flavia, who is our resident graphic designer. So welcome, Flavia, to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Super awesome to have you here. So just to set the stage, so Coke partnered with Bain and Company and with OpenAI to launch this Create Real Magic platform. It's a platform that appears, in my observation, to be heavily or exclusively trained on Coke branded assets. And then you pick from a few prompts like the graphic style or the main element, and then you type in a prompt. But in the development of this platform, they say that over 120,000 pieces of content were posted, presumably more were created. And then they looked to see who posted and interacted with the platform for more than a certain amount of time. And they selected the top 20 creators to then discuss how they could improve it and take it forward. And they took all those learnings and created this current Christmas themed platform that we see today. And they say that it was not just about using AI for the sake of using AI to replace everything they do, but rather to get faster and better insights. And their takeaway was that human intelligence, is just as important as artificial intelligence. But I thought it'd be worth having the conversation around how do we see AI today, and how do we maybe think it's going to happen? What form will it take in the future for graphic design creation? And so, Flavia, maybe share a few of your thoughts initially on maybe the Coke platform, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more. I think we have some more questions for you.
Cool. Yeah, I think, well, it's all very new and all just we're figuring out, I think, as we go, both the graphic designers and the people behind the AI tools. It's a cool experiment. It's nice to see what comes out of it. Not without, I think it's, ethical questions and things like that, because obviously everything is came from artwork, and okay, it's artwork that Coca-Cola owns, so technically, as far as we know, everything is legal in there, all of the things that they have. But it is in some degree replacing, the traditional, like, let's hire an agency, let's hire an illustrator, let's find an illustrator that we think resonates with our audience, and all that creativity that goes into, creating a campaign suddenly is mostly being run by AI. And they said that they worked with an agency as well on this whole campaign. I think it's cool, and it shows how we can use AI as a tool to create things that otherwise maybe we would never get to these results, because you would never have such a huge pool of data to pull from, and so many people all around the world creating their own ideas for like a Coca-Cola advert and things like that. But I am, on the other hand, a little bit concerned that we're taking away a little bit of the fun of the creative process that is to really put our heads down as a group of people and brainstorm and create ideas. And for me, this is one of the most fun parts of being a designer or being an illustrator. And when you see AI doing that part, then you're a bit like, oh, what is left for me to do? because the artwork is pretty cool, like it's really good, obviously because it's trained by amazing art from real people.
Hmm.
But like it takes away, like I, for example, I think for me, I would love to work in a campaign like this, and I think the chances now are a lot slimmer because, well, they have AI, they have a tool that can do that for them.
Yeah. I don't know if this is naive, but like the vibe that I get from it is it was like very experimental. And I don't so much see it like I feel like what it's going to do is just make graphic design more accessible for like the average person. But brands and companies are still going to need someone who's like like coming up with things because if you want to stand out, it has to look different, right? And you can't get like original ideas from AI. So to me, I mean, I'm team let's keep Flavia around, you know, like the value that Flavia adds to our team.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us could do Flavia's job half as well, even armed with AI. So that's my take on it. Is I'm like, it's a nice experiment that you've done there, Coke, but like I can't see people doing this consistently as the way to create campaigns.
Yeah. And I think expanding upon that, you know, they built, I mean, they partnered with, a really big consulting agency, Bain, and they partnered directly with OpenAI, right? That is out of the reach of
Mm,
most brands unless your name is Coca Cola, right? Um, and then they trained a model, apparently, I mean, presumably on all their assets, right? So it's this proprietary thing, right? And can't even
yeah.
imagine how much that cost. But that is out of the reach of most people. But
Oh
and I
yeah.
would encourage everybody listening to this to go and try it out because it's kind of fun to click, oh, like I want this style of the polar bear, and then you can type in the description. But it's still pretty limited to what you're going to get, right? And even each time I was like, okay, that was okay, but I couldn't get it again. And so if you wanted
Mm.
to have one of the things I think is so important in any kind of marketing campaign that is going to span TV, print, digital, there needs to be consistency, right, between a variety of assets. And I don't see us getting that with AI today, right? It's
Yeah.
always a reset and it doesn't remember what you did last time or it can't reference the last thing. But I do think it's a good experiment and I do think it's worthwhile trying. And I think, we're seeing AI is really a disruptor today for our lives. And it's made me think, Flavia, we've probably seen other disruptive elements or disruptive tools in the past. And I'm thinking specifically about graphic design. Does anything come to mind for you about a graphic design disruptor? And then like, did it disrupt or did it have no impact on graphic designers?
Well, yeah, I can think of a few. If you think about the whole story of the history of graphic design, you can go all the way back when the layouts used to be done by hand, and then suddenly, like Photoshop or Illustrator just comes, and I bet that the people that were responsible for doing layout was like, oh my God, we're out of a job. But more recently, I think Canva was a huge thing in graphic design, and there was a big fear in the community that we'd just be out of jobs because now anyone, their idea is to like make it democratic so anyone can design something nice. And to be honest, it was a little bit scary at first. I think as with all of the things that get a big hype. But for me personally, it didn't affect. Like I still got jobs, still had freelance coming. But what happened is that the family and friends requests of like, can you do a poster for my birthday? Or can you help me with this school assignment? That stopped because suddenly they were using Canva.
Mm,
So I think it brought new things, but as with AI and other tools that come up, the main thing is that it frees you time. And although I don't use Canva for a lot of stuff, I still think for us in the marketing team, for example, is useful to creating templates and things like that that you wouldn't have otherwise. I would have it on Illustrator or Figma, and that requires a little bit more of knowledge to edit and things like that. So it did change, I think, the world of graphic design, but it also created more jobs in a sense, because you get a lot of designers today that work exclusively with Canva, and a lot of people that sell things like social media sets that is already done and ready for your brand and things like that, that are really useful, you know. So it changes, but not necessarily for worse.
Yeah.
Nice.
My favorite thing that I've seen, which I think applies to both maybe why Canva didn't disrupt in the same way that people thought it was, and also my favorite response to AI taking over graphic design, is that quote that's like, most of the time clients don't even like can't even accurately describe what they want, so
Yeah.
we're safe because you're gonna have to accurately describe it or know what you want to be able to create it, and most of the time people don't know. But that leads us to, how do you think that graphic designers should be thinking about AI at the moment? Because if it's not going to completely replace the jobs, fingers crossed, I think there's always ways to use it to like make yourself more efficient or to get things done in a new, faster way. How do you think graphic designers, or how are you thinking about it?
Yeah, I think for now, in terms of tools that do graphic design and things like that, we have, you can get certain styles of mainly illustrations and things that are quite good, but it all looks a little bit similar, and it requires a lot of prompting and working, and sometimes even feeding your own images to AI so it can create something in the style you like. So it's not a process of just typing 3 words and it creates this amazing art for you. And I think that will evolve, and I would love for AI to get to a place where, when we're thinking of brand consistency and things like that, you can use that and perhaps feed the AI that, like your brand, your colors, your fonts, and all of that, and that can help you just keep the consistency on smaller artwork. I think that's what my vision for AI is, that we can get like smaller stuff, like okay, we do posts on Instagram every week with tips, and then like if I have a template, AI can just create the rest and things like that. So I think in the future, that's where I see the tool going, and that would benefit designers. It won't benefit if it starts creating. Once it starts creating and creating good stuff, then then I guess it would be a bit trickier. I think instead of needing a team of graphic designers, you would need one art director that can direct AI to do stuff.
Mm.
And I feel that would be a little bit sad, because you know the fun, we would just lose the fun of the creative process. That is like, I don't know, the thing that makes us human and that makes us enjoy life and things like that. And suddenly you're getting a robot to do that. But in terms of tools as well, I think the on AI as a whole, I think it is very helpful sometimes when you just need some copy that afterwards Leah is going to review for sure, but something quick just to give a feel. For example, if I'm designing a landing page or something, I'm not an expert copywriter, and I want to spend the time designing. So if I can just throw some copy in there that is not final, but just can get a sense of what the page is about, that is helpful. And also with coding as well. So uh, earlier in the year, we worked redoing our whole website, and we used a platform that you can build your own website without knowing any code. But sometimes when we wanted to do something more specific or something that wasn't necessarily that easy to do just using the platform, I would turn to ChatGPT and ask for some code. And I'm not really an expert in code or anything, so that was really helpful. For example, to make the visions that I had just come to life using AI. So yeah, I think we should embrace it. We should be careful, and I think we should have continue to have these discussions, especially around copywriting, for styles, illustrations, and things like that. But at the same time, we cannot just ignore it, because it's here, and it's gonna stay.
Just hope it goes away. Just don't look it in the eye, it'll
Yeah,
go away.
exactly.
Um, but speaking of the website, because that was really impressive. Well, I can't remember how long ago it was. Maybe like a year ago. Was
Yeah.
it earlier this year?
Yeah,
You
I think
two,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Time's an illusion. Earlier this year, maybe you two basically completely redesigned our website from scratch, which was very impressive to watch because I don't believe either of you really knew what you were doing. You kind of just figured it out and then somehow made an incredible website. It was like watching magicians at work. But that was you two doing it. So there was Mike, who had like, I think, some experience in coding, and you seemed to know what you were doing a little bit. And then Flavia, who had like all the visuals down and the spacing and like all those other things, that it's not just artwork that Flavia makes for us. It's like making sure things look good and
Yeah.
the headings are the right sizes and the margins are correct. I imagine, Mike, that had Flavia not been there and it was maybe just you and AI, our website would look a little different. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. If it was just me and AI, our website would look like some stock template from fill in the blank website hosting provider service, like a Squarespace or whomever, right? Um, and so I think graphic designers, that human intelligence that we talked about at the very beginning, kind of go full circle, is so important in the process, right? I think, graphic designers, I don't think they get enough appreciation or respect for all of the thought that goes into how much spacing should there be around the text? What size should the H1, the H2, the H3, I mean, how does that cascade down, right? And the layout, and like, oh, your goal on this page is to inform, the page should look like this. Your goal on this page is to actually sell, it should look like this, right? Or we can try these different variations. And I think when you have that structure, right? I mean, Flavia spent so much time in Figma ahead of time designing a bunch of different ways to do this and breaking out the elements so that when it came time for us to build it, it made that process so much easier because we had a good spec. She took into consideration, I suspect other graphic designers do the same thing, took so much time and care in putting thought into like how these things should be, that when it came time to implement, it was easy. And they were things that I would not have even thought of or considered, right?
Yeah,
So yes, I could have asked AI. AI probably isn't going to try to take those things into consideration either, right? And so the site would be some standard template that, you know, didn't
doesn't
accomplish the
stand
goal we
out.
wanted to accomplish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think that's the thing. I think we sort of came back to it with copywriting as well. It's like that all of these things that you don't even know that you don't know, or that you wouldn't even know to ask the AI about.
Yeah.
Like all the times that I like do a mock-up version and then throw it to Flavia because it's in safe hands. Like Flavia's going to do an amazing job, but she like changes the margins and the spacing and I'm like, I like, it looks so much better, but I don't know why. I don't know what you did. It's like magic. And I just can't imagine an AI being able to do that.
Yeah.
No, I think it's as you said, like for now at least, what we have with AI or what we have with creation, with graphic design, that is automated, that is fast, is just very it's just a template, right? There are several templates. They can add your colors, generate this and that, but in the end it kind of all looks a little bit the same, and it's, as soon as you move something, it just, I think, completely ruins it. So I think it's still a long way to go to get to a point where you can, for example, build a website that has personality and character and all the spacing is right and all of these little unseen details. There is even a saying in graphic design, I won't remember it quite right, but like that good design is the design that you don't notice. Because it is a lot about that. Like a lot of the times when you're giving information, you're thinking about hierarchy and lots of this stuff, and you don't want people to notice like the color of your font or the what typeface you used and things like that. You want people to pay attention to the information. I mean, graphic designers will notice because that's just basically what we do all the time,
Exactly.
but other people won't see it. And I think there is an art to it, and it's something that you also learn with a lot of time and a lot of practice. And like, if you get my designs from when I started uni to what I do now, is obviously very different. So it takes a trained eye, and I think although AI can be trained to do a lot of this stuff, it won't add the personality, and it won't add the kind of creativity and the thing, the touch that makes it unique, for a brand or for an artwork or anything like that. So I think that's where we're still safe for now.
Yeah. I think maybe just to kind of wrap things up, I think the takeaway that I have from the copywriting topic and the graphic design topic anyway is that, there's humans are still needed. They're still super important in this. And I think, but we as marketers, designers, copywriters need to be open to like looking at, hey, what is the state of this new tool? How can we use it to make ourselves more effective when we're resource constrained? But I think, like any tool, it's only as good as the person who's wielding it can do it.
Yeah.
So I think as long as we have that element in it and we're using it, I think that's how we get the most out of it. But I don't see us going away anytime soon. So, all right.
I love that. Let's
Awesome.
stick around.
All right. Well, thanks everybody
Yes.
for checking out episode 30. Can't believe we're at 30 already. We're just gonna keep marching on. So for myself, for Leah, for Flavia, thanks again for watching I Saw This Thing, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye.